Modern Mahjong's here. In today's video, we're going over official National Mah Jongg League rules and comparing them to some house rules that are common. We believe it is really important for players to first learn official rules. This way, they can recognize house rules and discuss with their group which house rules apply. This free printable is available in our Facebook group in the Files tab. If you're not on social media, feel free to email us at modernmahjong@gmail.com to get a download. Let's start with cold wall. There is no such thing as a cold wall or a hot wall in National Mah Jongg League rules, and we'll go over what the definition is. Under National Mah Jongg League rules, they recommend defensive play until the very last tile, and they use a term dogging tiles that mean breaking up your hand to prevent another player from getting Mahjong. In a cold wall situation, the dice wall, the tiles left over after East rolls the dice, those are called the cold wall, and any discard is safe. So a player can't claim Mahjong unless they self-pick the tile. They cannot call a tile for Mahjong. Players who like this feel it moves the game along quickly. Players who don't like this style think that it changes the strategy of play, because if you have a flower and you don't want to discard it because you know it might be someone's winning tile and you're close to East's wall, you could just kind of hold off and then discard that flower and they can't call it. Moving on. Committed to picking from a wall, discarding, and claiming a discard. Now, these are all official rules, and we don't really know of house rules that purposely change them, but we think sometimes players might not recognize that they are playing different than the National Mah Jongg League rules. A player is committed to picking a tile from the wall when they move that wall tile in any way. So you're picking from the wall, you touch the tile, you could change your mind. You move it, it's yours, you can't change your mind. Now, if somebody else calls the prior discard, you put it back exactly where it came, but you can't change your mind. A player is committed to discarding when they fully name a tile or it touches the table. So fully name would be like 2 dot, not 2, or green, because green is clearly green dragon. Finally, a player is committed to claiming a discard when they place that discard, as the National Mah Jongg League recommends, but there's no penalty if they put it in the sloping, but if they place it on the flat top of their rack, or they expose tiles from the sloping part of the rack. So once you do that, you can't change your mind. So some games we just discussed how commitment can vary since some players may not know these official rules and that it's different depending on if you're picking, discarding, or claiming. Some groups follow stricter, more set tournament rules where a player is committed to picking from the wall if they just touch that tile, or a player is committing to discarding when they just partially name a tile. So if they say 2, too late to change their mind. So be sure to discuss all these rules before rolling the dice so everyone's in agreement. Next up, discarding a tile. So continuing what we were just talking about, a tile is discarded when it is fully named. So green, red, flower, north, joker, all of that fully named. It's kind of like share. 2 dot is not fully named because 2 dot is fully named. 2 is not fully named because 2 could be 2 dot, 2 bam, or 2 crack. Like we said, some groups follow tournament rules and a tile is discarded when it's just partially named. 2, you can't change your mind. It's whether it's 2 bam, 2 crack, or 2 dot, it doesn't matter. You say 2 in a tournament, you have discarded the tile. Next, hands on the card. Under National Mah Jongg League rules, the only recognized hands are those on the current card. And we do have some house rules with this, and we create fun holiday hands. Currently, we have in files our July 4th hands, and there's Valentine's Day hands, and Hanukkah, Christmas, all different kind of cards. Those are just additions that we do for fun themed games. Throughout the year, there's a hand called Atomic that some groups incorporate into their game, and we believe it may have been introduced from canasta players from the pairs hand. And Atomic are groups of tiles with no flowers and no jokers. And while rules vary from table to table, most games that play Atomic, the player must announce they're going Atomic before the Charleston, and this way players won't pass them a flower or a pair, and you can never pass a joker. And some groups say it must be 7 distinct pairs, where others allow multiples of the same number or even pungs and kongs. Rules vary whether a player could pick a flower or a joker and discard those and still win. Payment should also be discussed and agreed upon by the group. Next up, how do you call a tile is also sometimes a house rule. So the league recognizes take, I want that, call, or anything else that has that meaning. They define hold as a way, this is in 2024 Mahjong Made Easy. The definition of hold is a way to stop the play before possibly making a call. The player can also use wait. So if someone uses hold or wait, that prevents someone else that's not next in line for calling the tile. But this is under the definition of hold in the National Mah Jongg League book. If a player next in turn makes a call, they are entitled to the tile. So player A discards a 2-dot. Player B is next in line. Player C says hold. So the impact of hold, player D now cannot say call, but the next in line, player B, can. So hold does not interrupt the next in line. And of course, there is the exception to next in line, which we'll get into later. Some groups do use the term hold or pause synonymously with all those terms for call. So players should recognize, depending on what group they play in, how hold is defined. It's really just kind of like give me a minute, not call. Now we're on hot wall. So we already discussed cold wall, now we're hot wall. There's no hot wall under National Mah Jongg League rules. Regardless of who throws the winning tile and when they throw it, the discarder pays double, and all the other players, the other two players, pay the single amount on the card. In a hot wall game, the dice wall, which is the tiles remaining after each rolls dice, is called a hot wall, and this penalizes a player for not playing defensively. If a player throws the winning tile during the hot wall, whether they could tell or not, the person could be playing a concealed hand, they pay for the table. Now, that also sometimes is a rule that you pay for the table if you throw a hot tile, and we're going to get into that later. But depending on your group, you should definitely define what a hot tile is. Because if somebody has in like the typical flower 1, 2, 3, and they have the flowers and the twos, and there's, let's say, no other hand on the card that fits, if you throw the 1 or the 3 or both of those hot tiles, because there's more than one tile could be the winning tile. Most players that play with this would say both of those are hot tiles. Jokers. There are 152 tiles in a Mah Jongg League game, and that includes exactly 8 jokers. So in some games, there's a house rule that's popular in the West Coast, boom jokers. If a player has a boom joker, you replace one of the jokers with a boom joker, and it just looks different than the other jokers. A lot of them even say boom on them. If a win includes a boom joker, the winner gets paid $1 extra from each player. Sometimes a player could hold back from calling and exposing tiles because they have that boom joker, because once it is up on their rack, it could be exchanged just like any other joker. So this is the first page of our discussion of house rules and National Mah Jongg League rules. We have 3 other pages that we're going to get to in future videos. So we hope you appreciate this. And if you want to see the full PDF, you can go to our Mahjong group, Mahjong community on Facebook. And if you're not on Facebook, send us an email. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day and a great game.